Hello everybody and welcome to Mark Goldbridge, That's Football, Premier League Player of the Year so far. Apologies for no FIFA today, but it is the anniversary of Munich and I just feel that me being a prat playing FIFA is just not the right day for that. So that's back tomorrow. But what we can talk about is Premier League Player of the Year so far, and I love this. I absolutely love this because you've got Jordan Henderson being mentioned by the media and I'm sure he probably is a very, very big favourite to win it. But to me, well, we'll get into my top five in a moment. You can get your top fives in a moment. But fan opinion's what it's all about. We watch the games. Some Liverpool fans may think it's not Henderson. Whatever. The reality is we're going to have our say on this. This is going to be my top five so far. Doesn't mean that they will win it. Although I do still think we've got this odd thing where players vote in December for the Player of the Year, which I just find really odd. I don't know why that is. But my Premier League five of the year so far are this. But I just want to give some spoilers in some way. Well, they won't be in the top five, but just some notable shout-outs. I think Dean Henderson at Sheffield United, on loan from Manchester United, has been fantastic and really... I think he's got the most goal. We're talking Premier League here. I think he's got the most clean sheets in the Premier League. And, Sheffield United have been great. So it's great to put a Sheffield United player forward. Marcus Rashford, obviously, he's going to be out for half a season now. But I think for 2 or 3 months, he was one of the best players in Europe. So he definitely deserves a shout out as well. Ricardo Pereira at Leicester. I think he's made the most tackles. Wan-Bissaka gets a lot of credit from United fans, and that is justified. But when you look at it, Ricardo Pereira's had a better season than him, so he deserves a shout out as well. I also think Maddison at Leicester has done very, very well as well. So they're players that are not going to make it into my top 5 Player of the Year so far. But let's get in at number 5. So number 5, it is a Leicester player, and it's Jamie Vardy. And it's unfashionable to almost like Jamie Vardy, isn't he? But he is. I think he's got 17 Premier League goals. He's the top Premier League goal scorer, ahead of Aguero, ahead of everybody else. Harry Kane obviously has had a few injury problems, but Jamie Vardy this season for Leicester, and where Leicester are in the season, I think for me it's great to be able to put a Leicester player in there. I think a few of them were knocking on the door, but Jamie Vardy outscoring everybody in the Premier League. It isn't fashionable to like Vardy. His wife gobbed off a bit on Twitter, didn't he? But he's a footballer. He's not part of the England setup anymore, but he's still playing in the Premier League at the highest level, and I think Vardy deserves to be in there. It's good to get a striker in there. As you're going to see, it's not always easy to get a striker in there, but for me, Jamie Vardy is my 5th candidate for Player of the Year so far in the Premier League. In at number 4, it's Kevin De Bruyne. And I think Kevin De Bruyne in a massively inconsistent and underperforming Manchester City side. And I know some people would say that's ridiculous. You can't say that. They're second in the league. But come on. Man City won the title last year. Liverpool went on a mad one. They've won virtually every game since, February? And Man City went toe-to-toe with them and won the league. And then this season, City have just folded, really. And I know, they are comfortably going to finish second in the league, but they're a long way off Liverpool, and they should be closer to Liverpool. And I'm not taking anything away from Liverpool, because what they've done is, unfathomable. I can't even get the word out. It's hard to take as a United fan, but it has been sensational. But Man City should have done that as well, and they've not done that. But within that team, I think some of their players have been inconsistent. I don't think Sterling's hit the heights. Obviously, they've missed injured players. I think Fernandinho has been missed in the midfield because he's had to go deep. I don't think Rodri set the world on fire to the level that Man City want. I don't think Gundogan's been as consistent as he should be. I think Bernardo Silva and David Silva, again, not as good as they could be. Good players, but Kevin De Bruyne, what a season. I think he's had a fantastic season, and I think the only issue for him is that he's doing it in a Man City side that has been sort of undermined this season. Quite rightly, I think they've underachieved, even though they will finish second. But Kevin De Bruyne hasn't. I think when you look at him statistically, I think he's got the most assists. He's right up there for putting crosses in, through balls. And also, he's the sort of player that, I think Kevin De Bruyne is one of the best midfielders in the world at the moment. And I would, when you're talking about Premier League 11s, and I want to do a show on that, when you're talking about Premier League 11s or Premier League midfielders, he is the number one. I think this season, considering last season he was out for most of it, what are we basing that on? I think we're basing it on this season. I think he's been absolutely fantastic. So Kevin De Bruyne would be 4. So Jamie Vardy is my 5th choice. Kevin De Bruyne is my 4th choice. Number 3, I'm going to go for... I know who they are. I'm just trying to get them in the order I want to get them in. So I'm going to go with... It's close. It's really close between 3 and 2. So you could switch these around if you wanted to, or you might have different top 5. But for me, third choice is going to be... Yeah. This is what I was always going to go with. I nearly changed it last minute. Trent Alexander-Arnold is in at number 3. He has got an amazing amount of assists in the Premier League, second to only Kevin De Bruyne. He's put an amazing amount of crosses in, and he has had a fantastic season, as have Liverpool. And without question, he's the best right back in Europe at the moment, and therefore the world, which is absolutely amazing, really. I mean, I think the only weakness he has is defensively. I still think he's a little bit suspect, but what he offers going forward, you do wonder, and I don't watch Liverpool enough to know this, but you do wonder what his career is going to be. Will he do what Gareth Bale did and be a really good fullback and become a world-class sort of attacker? Has he got that in his wallet? I think he probably has. But he has had a fantastic season, and he will win Young Player of the Year, I would have thought. But I would put... I don't like that. I don't like, you're in the Young Player of the Year category. You can win both. And I think he has to be a consideration for Player of the Year. Because, if Gary Neville, in the prime Manchester United side, had pulled in the stats that Trent Alexander-Arnold has this year, we would be saying he should be a candidate for Player of the Year. He's been absolutely fantastic going forward for Liverpool. As has Robertson. I actually prefer Robertson, but I think when you're looking at a Premier League Player of the Year, I think you've got to go with Trent Alexander-Arnold. So for me, he is number 3. The person I was going to put in at number 2 that I was humming and ahhing about was Sadio Mane, who I think has been massively important for Liverpool. I think Salah's got more Premier League goals, and I think Firmino's got more Premier League assists. But Mane, again, looking at it from a rival point of view, Salah's a fantastic player and Firmino's a fantastic player. But Mane, as a Manchester United fan, when we've played them, he's the one that worries me the most. He's won them some very, very key games. He is an absolute handful. And I think over the last year, he's took over as being... It was always Salah. Salah's better than Hazard. Salah's this, Salah's that. But I think over the last year, it's sort of gone, well, is Salah actually the best attacker at Liverpool? Because I think it's Mane. And look, Liverpool fans probably totally disagree with me. That is their right. It's their season and they're owning it. But I just think Sadio Mane, what he's done over the last year, taken into the equation the end of last season as well, and he's continued it this year, I think he's been a massive part of what Liverpool are. And I as a Manchester United fan, and we're nowhere near this, but we have been successful, I look at Liverpool and I try to sort of analyse why they are so good, why they are so consistent, because they've won so many games, they've only drawn one in the Premier League, they've won every other game, they've played everybody now, and that's not a luck. Yes, they've got a fantastic manager, they've got a well-run club, but they've got a team with a real sturdiness to it. But with that, you've got to have the goals in it. And Firmino I've seen have quiet games. Salah I've seen have quiet games. And I have seen Mane have a quiet game, but not as much. And I think he is massive, massive to Liverpool. And for me, I would say, realistically, I don't know why Sadio Mane wouldn't even be a candidate for Player of the Year, because I think he has been that good. I don't think he will win it. I've actually taken some time out to think this through and tried to be unbiased, because that's what this channel is all about. There are no Manchester United players in here. I think Rashford's the only one that nearly could have done. Liverpool have got to dominate it because they're dominating English football. But it surprises me, as I come towards my number 1, that Jordan Henderson is being mentioned as Player of the Year. I don't get this. And I've got nothing against giving it to him. In fact, to me, it's no skin off my nose if Henderson gets it, Trent Alexander-Arnold gets it, Mane gets it, Salah. I mean, they're all Liverpool players, so there's absolutely no bias. And in fact, in relation to Henderson, he's changed my opinion of him massively over the last 2 years. I think even at the last World Cup, I was like, whoa. But over the last 2 years, I as an Englishman going into the Euros, I'm like, what an important player he's going to be for us based on what he's done in the last 2 years. So he's, massively, massively improved, Jordan Henderson, and a massive part of what Liverpool are. But Player of the Year, well, I'm sorry, he's not in my top 5. He's not in my top 5. He's not even in my... I don't think he's even in my top 5 Liverpool players of the season. So how he wins Player of the Year, I personally don't get that, because for me, the number 1 is Virgil van Dijk. And I've lived, and many of you have lived in an era where Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo share the Ballon d'Or every year because they are miles above everybody else. Doesn't matter if Neymar has a great season or Mbappe has a great season or Lewandowski scores 100 goals. They'll still never be on the level of Messi and Ronaldo because they are a level above. And you don't go, well, Messi, you won it 2 years ago, Ronaldo, you won it last year, so next year, out of fairness, we're going to give it to Mbappe. No, they get it every year because they are the best every year. And I don't know where we've wandered away from Van Dijk, because Van Dijk won Player of the Year last year. I think he probably should have won Ballon d'Or. I think he should have beat Messi to that. And again, I mean, it's hard for me to say that as a United fan, but you know, sometimes you've got to sit up and go, look, I hate the situation my club's in, and look at what our biggest rival are doing. They're doing it the right way. And I think Van Dijk, I know he's not the captain of Liverpool. I don't know enough about Liverpool to know that. I don't think he is the captain. I think it's Henderson. But Liverpool have got a lot of points this season because of clean sheets. They can beat teams 3 or 4-0, and we've seen it. But some of their results have been quite tight. Sheffield United, it was a mistake by I think it was by Henderson, wasn't it? The goalkeeper. Wijnaldum scored it. It would have been 0-0. So Liverpool defensively, I would say, are probably better than they were last year when Van Dijk won it. And I think Van Dijk has sort of slipped off because everyone just goes, oh wow, Van Dijk he is world class now, so let's try and find somebody else that we can massage and polish up to being Player of the Year. I just think he is Player of the Year. Like, he's just the best centre back in the world and dominant with it as well. Liverpool are very hard to score against, and they've got some very, very good players, but Van Dijk's a massive part of that. Also, on top of that, I think he's made the most passes in the Premier League, Van Dijk. So he's not just there to break up the play. He's actually a very, 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 very good footballer, as well as being dominant in the air, reading the game, quick, strong, very good tackler. He actually can play football. So I do not get how Jordan Henderson is the favourite to win Player of the Year this year in the Premier League, because to me, it's Van Dijk. If you're asking me as a Manchester United fan, and this is hard, what one player do you think is the best player at Liverpool? It's Van Dijk. I think if you took him out of that team, Liverpool would start to ship goals. And not because they're a bad team, and not because people like Gomez and Matip can't do a job. I just think Van Dijk is so good. He seals up that defence and makes it almost impenetrable, as it has been this season. So for me, it's Van Dijk. And I don't think he will win it. And I think it's a shame. And I think it's because the media, for whatever reason, and the people who vote for this for whatever reason have a mindset where, and maybe it's an English mindset, maybe it's maybe it's we have always been, it's almost like we wallow in being the nearly people, like, oh, we've got to the semi-finals and we lost. We're almost a bit fair. Oh well, Van Dijk won it last year, so it's got to be somebody else. And I think winners win every year. So why can't we have a Player of the Year that wins it 3 or 4 years in a row? And I think, for me, it's Van Dijk. And if it's not, it's Mane. And if it's not, it's Trent Alexander-Arnold. They're the 3 for me from Liverpool. So my top 5, 5th Vardy, 4th De Bruyne, 3rd Trent Alexander-Arnold, 2nd Mane, and 1st Van Dijk. Get your top 5 in below. Premier League Player of the Year so far. Smash a like on the video, subscribe if you are new, and I will be back tomorrow with FIFA at lunchtime. But thanks everybody for watching. And I think we've opened up a bit of a debate here. What are your thoughts? Speak to you all soon.